Welcome to the Celebration of You. I'm your host, Holly Dowling. I'm thrilled to share with you incredible people from all over the world who are living and leading extraordinary lives. From overcoming immense adversity to discovering the secret sauce to leading with courage and grace. Their stories are going to bring you hope and inspiration. Now let the stories begin. Welcome to a celebration of you today. And you know, it's so fun that I feel like every day it's an element of surprise many times to how God uses amazing people that just kind of come into my life. And I'm so excited because you're about to meet someone that's very new to me as well. And her story is going to affect your life and probably many of your loved ones. So without further ado, may I introduce you, world, to Michelle Perzan. Michelle, thank you, my love, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Holly. I'm super excited.
Well, you have an incredible, do we call it journey? I mean, we're going to talk about the book you wrote. We're going to talk about so many things. And, I got to share with everybody. So I get this beautiful note from Michelle. Don't know her. And I read this because I love it when I hear from people that have a story or know somebody. And I read her note. And next thing you know, I'm like, yeah, send me your book. So Michelle sends me her book. And I just got done telling you this literally before we started recording. And I open up the book, sit down on the couch, and I read the introduction and I start to read the first chapter and I shut the book. I looked up to God and I said, of course I'm supposed to interview her. Her story needs to be told. So here we go, Michelle. I haven't even read the whole book.
There's lots of good stuff in it. Just wait.
Well, and it looks like, okay, so let's just start with, how many different things? You actually, this is not just your first book. You've authored other books. You have an amazing, passion. I guess before we dive into the book, will you tell us a little bit about what you're currently doing in your world right now? You have a business, you have your own business, you do all kinds of interesting things. I love that you're an entrepreneur and help people. Literally, you used to sell, samurai swords, and then you've also, where do we begin? You just start. Tell me.
Well, listen, first of all, every mother needs a samurai sword. I used to always say that. So why not? My friends used to think I was crazy. I grew up in Canada, right? Yeah. I grew up in Canada and my parents were both entrepreneurs. So I was raised entrepreneurial, which I love. But when we moved to Texas, I didn't want to go and work for someone and leave my small kids at home. I wanted to be here because we're in a different country. And so I started a samurai sword business. But then from there, that taught me so much. Taught me relationships, how important communication was. And that led me to having my own businesses. And really right now what I'm doing is, and because of the book and because of having a personal coach that I think is so important for everybody, a business coach.
Yeah.
I've been working with Amy Applebaum for over 3 years and she's phenomenal. But because of her and her guidance, it actually led me to not only write the book and start a business with her and partner with her, but to also start a foundation. So really right now I'm working with a disruptive technology company. And, we're just changing the way travel's being done. And we're, knocking out and crushing prices of Expedia and Priceline online 70 to 80% of the time. So not only do I get to help people, travel, but for me, after my journey of everything I've been through, I get to travel more to Canada and spend more times making memories with my boys and my husband. And that's what life's about because it's way too short.
Well, and I love that. You have 3 boys and obviously your husband, like mine, is an angel that was brought into your life. I love your tribute to him in your book, my friend, by the way.
He's amazing.
Well, and I love that there's so many people in your life that have been instrumental. So before we dive into the pivotal moment of your life, which I can't wait to get to, I just want to just tie out on, tell us a little bit about this travel business because that intrigues me. Tell me about that.
It's really interesting. I wasn't looking for anything else. My plate was very full, but when my business coach gave me a call and we talked and she was like, take a look at this. And I looked at it and I was just like, well, first of all, when you get to work with your business coach and get to partner with her, I thought that alone, it just changes the level of everything. And it's been wonderful. It's a brand new company, just launched two months ago. So brand new. But it's a disruptive technology company, which I love. And their first product is travel. They're kind of disrupting travel the way Uber disrupted taxis, which I think is cool. I want to be part of something new and exciting like that. So literally, we're saving people it's a brand new booking engine, and we're literally saving people 70 to 80% of the time on travel. Hotels, all inclusive, doesn't matter. So for me, it's nice to be able to help people in that way. Cause I used to spend hours on Expedia searching flights and rental cars to Canada, only to find out that, their Expedia and Priceline owns all the booking engines. Then I felt kind of foolish, but
well, yeah, we learn, right? We learn as we go.
Yeah. But for me, that's great. It's just something, because after going through everything, I just wanted, my boys have their own, we have a family vision board, but they also have their own pieces of paper with what they want, kind of like their own vision board. And I'd say more than half the things they want has to do with travel. Going to see cousins in Canada, Disney World, going to all different places. And when I put the two together, that their visions and my visions of spending more time together, but doing things, going to see the world together, I was like, this fit our life perfectly. And I can't wait to take them places this year. I can't wait. I'm excited just to build more memories and I just enjoy life. I love it.
Well, and you know what I love is I'm big if you know any of my work, I'm big on the visioning, and we have to have dreams, right? You can't have a dream come true without having a dream. And so,
Exactly.
the visioning and knowing that you're doing that and instilling that in your children. Like, it's so fun as mine are now grown and gone. And just the other day, my youngest just said, Mom, I can't wait to get there to see you again, because we're going to redo, I want to sit down and go through all my goals again with you. And he always remembers me having them written and my visions and my dreams. And it's amazing how that influence, Michelle, that we can have on our own immediate family, not just on the world. I love that you're doing that. All right. So here we go. I know people are going to be going, so what's her story? What's your story? And I think there's more than one story here, honestly. So take me back. Let's go on a journey right now. So take me back to, your earlier years, maybe it was the growing up in Canada, maybe a pivotal moment for you that was really earth shattering happened when you got to Texas. But take me through probably one of the more pivotal moments for you when your life really had a stop and breathe and where am I going and what am I doing? Tell us about that time.
Going back to Canada, that's a great question that you even asked that. Just you saying that without me even knowing you're going to ask anything like that, I would say it was when, oddly enough, when I met my husband. I met my husband, it was a year after my dad passed away, and I was in a bad place, just emotionally. He was my rock. I called him Papa Smurf. I loved him. He was the rock of our family, and he would just look at you and know you needed a hug. He was just the most amazing man. And I was heartbroken. I was so heartbroken that I hadn't worked in months. I was on a medical leave from stress. I mean, looking back, they did every test, and it was just from stress. And when I met Aaron, I was not looking to meet anybody because I didn't think I was emotionally stable, really, because I would cry all the time at commercials, songs.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't matter. Cried. Everything made me cry. And he said that he just looked into my eyes and just saw my soul. And he said he just wanted to love me. And he's the one that I was raised Roman Catholic. I believed in God I was so young, I don't even know. I just know I've always believed. But when I met him, it was different because he was just raised Christian, which I didn't understand what that meant. But he brought me to church. He showed me that you open up your Bible and read it. I didn't know any of that. And in the next year, it's like he healed my heart, bringing me to church, and I was able to grow and learn the word and learn that, yes, I lost my father on earth, but I have my spiritual father who I'll always have. And when I finally realized that and felt that, it healed me in a way I didn't know I was going to be able to be healed. That was pivotal for me.
Oh, I love hearing the way you use the word healed, and to know how many years ago you met this man, and to hear how you're still you can hear it coming through the phone line, Michelle. Your love, right? Your adoration for him. And little did you know what you were about to face in your own personal health and the journey and the storm, as you call it, that he would be there by your side. It's like God anointed him and appointed him long before, right?
Long before. And it was interesting because my husband's 10 years younger than me. So when I
the
met
story
him,
gets better, Michelle. I didn't know that part. Woohoo!
I didn't know he was that young when I met him, but within weeks, he said he knew he was going to marry me. And really, literally within a couple months, we met in August and we were engaged in December. And he'd asked my mom for my hand in marriage. And my mom was just like, you are 22 years old. What do you know? And we just talked to her and just said, I said, I was 32, obviously, because 10 years older. And I just said, Mom, remember when you met Dad, you just knew? I said, this is the first, I just knew. I just knew. And that was, it was a challenge at first for them, my family, to overcome that. But it just, every year he would just show his heart, and my family knew that he was the right one for me because he truly loved me. And he showed it with everything and everything that he does. And he always has. He's amazing.
You know what's kind of cool right now is that, and it's so fascinating that we're just on this topic without even planning, organically just went to this, because I think that for everybody listening, love, we could spend a whole year doing a show on just the topic of love, right? And there's so many different meanings of love and ways that we show love, from loved ones, from family, right, to children, to spouses, and just in life. And yet the way you just said that, I knew I was loved. I think I just wanted to pause, because we all know, when you're loved and when you're not. And that love has carried you through some really challenging times. So take us down, my friend, I'm just in awe of the nonprofit that you founded as well, that's called the GEST, but has so much to do with so much loss in your family. So I don't even know where to begin. Where do you want to start this piece? Because this is the part that I think is fascinating, what you've done and your faith and how you've managed through all this.
Oh, thank you. After I wrote my book, I was giving a portion of the proceeds of all the sales to a local nonprofit place here in Katy called the Ballard House. And what they do is they house families that come in for surgeries, for cancer, for transplants. So families can stay at this location for free. It's like a home. It's beautiful. And when I heard about it, I started to volunteer there, and I thought, I want to give a portion of my proceeds to this place for December, because I launched my book October 2016. So October, November, December, I gave a portion of my proceeds to them. And as I was praying about what I should do for 2017, that's when I kept getting that I need to start my own foundation. And I thought, who am I to start? You know what I mean? As a girl from Canada, who am I to start a foundation? And just God made it very clear that that's what you need to do. Just one of those things where you need to just be obedient, be a yielded vessel, do what I ask, and I will open all the doors and pave the way for you. So I said yes.
Yep.
Because yes, uncomfortable, but you have to be bold and just be like, yes, because it's not about me. It's about what I can do to glorify him. So I said yes. And when I talked to my husband, Aaron, about it, he came up with the name GEST, G-E-S-T. And the G stands for my mom, Gemma. The E stands for my dad, Elmer, and my Baba, which means grandma, Elsie. S stands for my brother, Stephen. And T stands for my maiden name, Tracolo. And those are all people that have been affected from cancer and actually died from cancer. So we named it in legacy of my family, and it just has a huge meaning to me.
Oh, I love that. And I can't wait for people to get to see that, because when I read about that, I was like, wow. And you are a blessed survivor yourself. And that is all part of the story in your book, Strength in My Storm. Yes. Tell us about that, because that was mind boggling when I read the piece about, well, I'm not going to burst the bubble. Tell us about that experience, because I think for every female and male out there, right, we're all being touched by cancer, either with loved ones or ourselves. So take us down that journey.
You are. When you get a phone call, and you hear on the other end, oh yes, a test came back, you do have cancer. It changes your whole life. It really does, in that 1 second. And I remember clear as day still getting the call and hanging up. And I remember I was home alone. I was getting ready to pick up my boys from school in about an hour. And my husband was at work, and I just sat there and I thought, oh my gosh, now what? It's just,
But 4 months before that, tell us about you went through some tests. You went to have your first mammogram, right? For the women listening, I want them to hear this story, because this is pretty profound, your experience.
I did. I went, we were living down in South Texas at the time by Brownsville, Harlingen. And I went for my very first mammogram. I had been asking my family doctor if I could do an early mammogram, just because of all the cancer in my family. And she kept saying, don't worry about it. Everything's fine. And finally, the second year, I would not stop harassing her. And she said, fine, go get a mammogram. So I did. And it came back with calcifications, which is very normal. So I went back so they could do an ultrasound and another more in-depth mammogram, and which led to a biopsy. which led to them, them saying everything's fine, took the biopsy, it's benign, everything's okay. But they said, we would like you to see an oncologist. And I said, well, that's strange. She said everything's benign. Right? Because, I didn't know much, but I thought that means benign's good. And they said, well, we just want you to see someone to check your hormone levels. And I said, okay, well, my husband just got an onshore job. He was working offshore for 9 years. So he'd be gone for a month, home for a month. So he was taking an onshore job where he would be home every night with me and the boys, we'd been praying for that as such a blessing. So I said, he's getting an onshore job. We're moving up towards Houston and Katy. And they said, okay, well, when you get up there, just self-refer, whenever you get there and just go see an oncologist. And I thought, okay, very strange thing to be told to do, but
yeah,
okay.
Very strange. Okay.
So then we moved up here and it was, I guess, maybe 2 months later. We moved in December. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I have to see an oncologist. So somebody had mentioned to me, you can self-refer to MD Anderson. So I did, and they asked for all the films from the other doctors. I did everything. And when I went in there, she said to me, so why are you here? And I said, well, they want me to, come see someone to do hormone levels. And they were like, well, we don't do that. And I was like, oh. And they're like, well, so you had biopsy? I was like, yep. And they're like, well, and it is benign. And they kept saying, well, why are you here then?
Yeah, why are you here, right? You're like, I don't know. Yeah. You tell me.
Like, I don't know. I was like, doctors, I usually just believe when doctors say to do something. I just listened. And I guess I just sat there. And with everything going on in Canada, at the time my mom was in hospice. Oh. With everything going on, I was just so emotional. I guess my eyes just started welling with tears. And she just touched my knee. And she said, you know what? We don't usually do this, but I'm going to get them to redo all your tests so that we have a baseline for you here. So we'll do the mammograms and do everything. And I just looked at her and I said, thank you very much. And she told me after, I know that was God because they wouldn't do that.
No.
That's not something they normally do. Why was I there? They don't even do hormone tests. But the fact that she just followed her gut, which I always say that's God nudging us. Whenever you get that gut feeling, I think she followed her gut. And that's what I believe. She had the test done, and that's how they found the cancer.
And when they found it, how shortly after sitting there in that room with that doctor, who I love the way you said, I totally love the way you just said that, Michelle, those guts, that's God nudging us if we're willing to follow it, right? How long was it after that day of running those tests that you got the call?
Gosh, they did one right on the spot and they came back and they said, well, that area is benign. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And they said the other one we have to send away, we'll know in a week. So it was less than a week later. But I just thought, it's fine because, you know what I mean? I just thought it was fine. They already said it was benign down there. They already did one at the hospital. That was benign. I honestly didn't think for a second that I would have breast cancer. And people think it's crazy when I say that. Because of all the cancer in my family, I just didn't think that would be me. I didn't think, it won't be me.
Yeah. You never think it's going to be you. And yet, had God, the reason I love that, just reading that nugget in your book, I thought, wow, I want every listener out there to hear this. And thank you for sharing in detail because how many times we either don't follow our gut or we don't own and take ownership of our health. I have to say you were very blessed to have a doctor at MD Anderson that followed her gut because I feel like it's not fair to make doctors be God. I think we do that a lot, right? And we have to own our health. We have to own standing up for ourselves. And just the fact that you even got to this new place, you were all excited and then you were like, oh yeah, I forgot I'm supposed to go do this, right? Yeah. So, for the people out there, you are a year cancer free, right? A year?
Yes.
Yay. Yay. Look at me. I'm giving you a standing ovation in my studio. Because I love to hear the success stories. What would you love to share with people right now? Like, what was your biggest, if you were to look back, and I know that they could get your book and hear all of this, but just for somebody that in these few minutes, Michelle, that might have just found out or they're dealing with this with a family member, what nugget of hope or empowerment would you share or wisdom, anything that comes to mind?
For me, such an important part of me going through this is almost twofold. Number one, learning to let go of my control and let God be in charge. You know, when you get diagnosed with something like cancer or any storm, like there's so many different storms we go through. It could be loss of a job, a loved one, any kind of disease, anything that comes that is going to knock your world around for a little bit. Knowing that you don't have total control of that situation, but God does. In my faith and how I walk, God does have control over everything. And when I learned to let go of my control and how I thought things should be or what I expected, and I just gave it all to God, and I just said, here, I can't do this alone, but I can get through anything with your strength. You can give me the strength to get through everything. That's when things changed for me, when I was able to just let go and let God. And that's so important to me. But also choosing to have a positive attitude. I wake up every morning, and before I will let my feet hit the ground, I thank God for another day. Like and for something, it could be when I was going through the hardest days, I would still find something. I'd be, thank you, God, that I get to open my eyes this morning and see my boys. Thank you. I get to see, sometimes it has to be so small and basic because the day is such a challenge. But when you wake up and you're so busy being thankful and grateful, it's very hard to be negative. So having a positive attitude will change everything. I believe that. I believe attitude is more than half of the healing, because when you're going through everything with a smile people see you and they're like, you have cancer? Why are you so happy? It's a choice, right? It's a choice. Mm-hmm. Why not be happy? Mm-hmm. I can still walk. There's just so many things to be thankful for, that when you change your mindset and you let go of that control, to me, it changed everything for me. It really did. And, serving others, I love that. When I was going through things, I was still helping everybody however I could. So it makes me happy.
Oh, you know what I love? I love the servanthood. And, it's just something that's I love hearing coming right through the phone line. It's like I'm sitting here with my eyes closed, smiling as I'm listening to you, Michelle, because it's like, for one, I always believe every day we have a choice. Joy is a choice. And hearing you going through, and as people would say, how can you be so happy? You have cancer. Right? Like I can just see that. I can see the venom coming out of people in that respect. Like how it's almost like, how dare you be so happy? And yet, how dare not to be? How you get to choose. And it also goes in line, and I've done some shows around this, but that you just bring up another good point, which is you need to be very intentional how you choose your thoughts, how you choose your attitude, and how you choose the people you want to be around. Because I guarantee you, right? You probably were very intentional around the people that were inspirational and lifting you up and staying positive versus the negative ones, the toxic ones. Am I right?
Yes, I couldn't be around anything toxic, negative, people that weren't supportive. I couldn't. And I don't think anybody should, though. I love everybody and I'm kind to people, but the people you need in your inner circle, especially when you're going through any kind of storm, they need to be the people that will lift you up, strengthen you, make you laugh, encourage you. That's so important to surround yourself with those people.
Yeah, you talk about that too. That's one of the chapters in your book about laughter. I'm a firm believer in that, but you have a whole chapter on that.
Yes, it's important. Our family's very different. Even growing up, my brother, sister, and I, when there's any kind of hard times, we tend to make jokes, goof around, and be silly. And that's how we handle things. We laugh because it gets us out of there for the moment and just, thinking there's other things to focus on, or we make each other laugh in hard times. And I think it's a great thing. I think being happy and laughing and joy you need it. Because if not, I would be crazy right now.
I'd be crazy. But there's science behind it, right? We know there is proven research and data, the impact that laughter and joy can bring. It can be, you've probably seen all kinds of stuff now, having been through cancer, and what you've learned. The reality is it's medicinal. It helps us. It's healing.
Yes. Absolutely.
So,
oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, it's fun to talk about, but we know this. It's interesting. I think this is, you've had a couple other books, haven't you?
Well, I was a collaborating author in an inspirational book in 2015. And it was called Emerge. And I wrote a chapter in that book.
And what was that book about? I love the title, Emerge. Tell us a little bit about that.
Emerge. It was real stories of courage and truth. And it was quite a few different authors that gave a story of something that they went through, something that they overcame, and is so empowering. The stories in there are amazing. The women that I got to write with were just beautiful, not only godly women, but empowering, and just showed their strength and courage. And that's actually, because I wrote in that, that's what the editor of that, MJ, he's the one who encouraged me to write my own book.
And how long did that take you from start to finish to write your own book? There's a lot of people that dream of doing a book or want to, right?
So funny when I finally said yes, because again, God kept nudging me saying you need to do it. And I just didn't want to. I didn't want to relive it. I wasn't ready emotionally to talk about it yet. And I kept getting nudged, and I'd be like, nope. And as soon I was being stubborn. Yeah. Because we're very stubborn sometimes. Yes. I am anyway. And as soon as I said, fine, yes, I will do it. It's amazing. You know how as soon as you say yes to do something that you know you're supposed to be doing, how all of a sudden your life gets easier?
Yes.
God opens doors. Things are smoothing. You have time for things that you didn't have time for, because God makes time for everything you need that you're supposed to be doing. So I sat down on I think it was a Saturday or a Friday, and I just started, it was in February. I just started typing. I didn't stop for 2.5 days. My husband just kept looking at me and taking the boys out. And I wrote it all in a couple of days, but then the refining takes months. But I honestly wrote it in a weekend because I couldn't stop. When I said yes, I just could not stop writing.
Because then you allowed yourself to be the vessel and a messenger for a story.
Yes.
And what I love is how this ties. So I have to tell everybody there's two things here that I don't want to miss. And that is, number one, when we first jumped on the call and I'm getting to know Michelle and I'm all excited because, I've got her book it's sitting in front of me, by the way. And I said to you, and this is such a great moment, but I said to you, so how do you even know me? How did you find out about this show? And I love how it ties to Emerge. So just reiterate that, Michelle, because that's powerful. It affirmed me that God put a nudge on my heart a couple years ago, and I listened, and now I get people like you.
Oh, I love that. Well, when you asked me, what stood out to me was, number one, you love to empower women, which is very important to me. That's why I work with a women business coach, and I work with a lot of other women. I love the women being empowered, but more than that, when you speak to people, things that you write, you talk about how you want to pull out people's own courage and strength, especially when they're going through, I call it a storm, you call it different words, but you're always pulling out, showing people how they can have courage and strength in their storms and in their hard times. And that, to me, as soon as I saw that and heard that, I was like, that's who I need to connect with. I just knew that you were somebody that I had chills. It was just my gut saying she's the one. And it was a matter of like a day. I emailed, and the next day I got an email back from you.
I know.
And I mailed the book the following day. Like I was on it. I'm like, okay, here.
It's like, here it goes. It's the nudge. It's when you said earlier, that gut, that's God nudging us. And it's so true the reason that's so powerful, and I just want you to reiterate, I wanted to tell you this and reiterate this to you too, my friend, as a gift, is that, when I heard that voice saying, I've had this series called Celebration of You for like several years, but it was always about, I called it the celebration, but I was, I had producers and I was just sharing content. And literally, Michelle, in the last probably 18 to 24 months, I kept hearing this nudge, this loud voice saying celebration of you is about all these amazing people. Like I get to meet amazing people that we're not getting to hear their stories, right? You're living an extraordinary life, whether it's the adversity you've been through, you've overcome something tremendous, right? And people get hope. They get empowered and get inspired by knowing they're not alone. And I shared this with you at the beginning, but I said, my prayer and hope for this is that if one person listening to this today, just hearing your story, just a nugget, that they might be that one person who in the darkness of that black cloud, and we've all been through those deep, dark times, of the challenges of our life, but if that just gives them hope, then that's what this was for. Because this isn't money generating at all. This was a message on my heart. So when I heard about your, guest, GEST, I was like, oh, and then to know that this was another nudge for you, I'm like, tell us how we can support you, because I want to wrap this up with, number one, thanking you for sharing from your heart. Number two, listening to God speak. Tell us what we can do for you as you continue to listen to God's nudge and follow. What can we do?
Okay, well, for Guest Foundation, I don't think I mentioned it, but our mission statement is to provide emotional, spiritual, and financial support to individuals receiving medical treatment for all types of cancers. It's for all cancers in our surrounding area. So for me, after going through surgeries, you can't lift or do anything for 6 weeks. So you can't clean, you can't cook. There's just things you cannot do. So for me, that was an area where I could have really used a lot of help. So I want to bless people in that area where I can provide grants for people, that I can give them a grant so that their groceries can be delivered for those 6 weeks, so that their house can be cleaned, so that somebody can come to their house for wound care, like whatever it is they need. Maybe they need rides to the doctor's appointments for chemo or radiation or whatever it is that they need. I want to provide that for people going through cancer in our area. And right now we're going to be doing a walk, our first universal cancer walk in October of 2017. The date's still to be determined. But right now what we're doing is raising money for the walk and raising money for the foundation so that we can start giving out grants sooner than later. So we can start blessing people right away.
Oh, and if people want to know how to learn more about you, your story, get your book, or learn more about this foundation, can you tell us, how would you like them to reach out to you?
So right now you can reach out to me on my email, which is michelle@mperzan.com. It's Perzan as in Nancy. And our website is just about up. It'll be guestfoundation.org, and it's GEST foundation.org. And I just wanted to say one other thing to you before you asked me that question. You had said when you started doing that show that if you could just help one person. Yeah. When you said that, it blew my mind, because when I wrote this book, and I tell people, I always prayed, if it helps encourage one person or gives one person hope, then I did my job. If it brings one person closer in their faith, or it shows them that they can get through whatever struggle or storm they're going through, then it was worth every minute of writing it. And I feel the same way about this. So when you said that, it just touched my heart a lot. So thank you for saying that. I feel that just to me confirms again that I was supposed to connect with you and that we were supposed to meet.
Well, and you're just going to be blown away, because I'm getting overwhelmed right now by something that I'm going to just peel back the layers of the onion and share this, because a lot of people don't know this about me, because Michelle, you have inspired me. There is a part of my past. So I have a child that survived cancer, but it was also the same week that I lost everything in my life. And it's a story that I've never really shared. And I have, as I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking, how many times, like there was a time about 5 years ago, people keep saying, when are you going to share your story? The people closest to me, people could get hope, they'll be inspired. And, I kept saying, like you just said, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I don't know if it's the fear of really letting people into some of the darkest times, but it's in those times that God has shown me, that has been the toughest time for my faith, but it's also been the most beautiful time, because it's when I have been able to, my faith grew, and I can look back and go, wow, who I am today is because of those times. And by listening to you, you may not even realize this. You have inspired me, and I'm going to ask you as my new soul sister to just pray, because I believe that when that's in God's timing, I don't like to write. So when people have asked me to do it, I'm like, I'm never going to write. I don't enjoy writing. I'm like, it's never going to happen. I'd have to record everything, right? So that's another piece reason I put it off. But I own it. I'm sharing it with you. I'm sharing it with the listeners, that if this is the year and this is the time, then it will all be in God's divine timing. But because of you, you've inspired me today. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you. And you know what? I believe with my whole heart that you are going to share, and it is going to bless and encourage many, many people. And you know what? You don't have to write. You're a beautiful speaker. So you just speak into that microphone and record it and have someone else type it for you.
There you go. So what are you doing when I start recording? You're going to be in another business before you know it. Oh, Michelle just started another business because of Holly. Oh, I just thank you. I wish we were sitting on the couch, because I just love to give you the hugest hug. So I'm sending a virtual hug through the phone line. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for being and willing to share your story with everyone out there, men, women, children of all ages. We all are human, right? And we all can be touched by a glimmer of hope. So thank you, Michelle.
I wish I could give you the biggest hug right now, Holly.
You are. We're doing it virtually through Skype. Here we go. Right? Woo! Have a marvelous weekend. Have a blessed weekend, and stay in touch with me, my friend. You're my new friend now.
Absolutely. I'm so thankful I met you. Thank you, Holly. And I can't wait to see what comes from you this year.
Thank you, dear. We'll be in touch.
Can't wait to see how God uses you. Okay.
You as well. Be well. Bye. Thank you for joining me for another awesome celebration of you. If you were inspired by this story, please share it with your family and friends and hashtag Your Story Matters. I'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment on iTunes. And absolutely, please come to my website, hollydowling.com. Leave a comment there too, and while you're there, pick up your free gift. Most importantly though, just remember that your life is a gift from God. What you do with it is your gift back.